In an apocalyptic world overrun by the undead, we bring you the last news broadcast known to this grim, dying world. We report the news to prepare you for your inevitably painful demise. Will we survive another day, or will the human race end with this broadcast? This is Catching Z's, hosted by Chance Dangers. Whoa. That intro is so depressing. Let's do something more lively. That's better. Isn't that much more cheerful? You're all probably still going to die though. But it's not the end of the world. Oh wait, it is. But at least we got a more cheerful intro. Hello, Dermites. Welcome to Catching Z, the best and last news broadcast in the world, or what's left of it, where our goal is to bring you the news today because tomorrow we'll probably all be dead. This is Chance Dangers, living dangerously. But what choice do I have? Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Catching Z on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play. Don't forget to click the little thumbs up button and leave a comment. Dying isn't easy when one is being ripped apart and eaten alive. Your comment might be the last thing seen by one of our brave souls. I don't know who will be listening to this broadcast. For all we know, everyone else is dead. If you happen to be a flesh bag, please don't eat me. That would be quite rude. I am still broadcasting from StrangeTown. Unfortunately, dictator General Bonner still has a firm hold on Derminus. Let's start today's broadcast on that note. A majority of Termites believe that General Bonner is an unfit leader. In fact, 63% of Derminus citizens believe that Bonner is not only an unfit leader, but that he started the war with StrangeTown in the first place. 35% of the population still stands with General Bonner. The other 2% were never heard from again. Derminus citizens want an investigation into the matter, but General Bonner does not approve. You should all just take my word for it, Bonner said in a statement. There is no need for an investigation. With statements like that, it's no surprise that Bonner is disliked by the majority of people in Derminus. Of course, it doesn't really matter because Bonner is not going to give up his position of power without a fight. General Bonner has also denounced the Catching Z podcast as quote-unquote fake news. Well, General Bonner, if this is fake news as you claim, then why not show us proof rather than rambling your mouth like an idiotic lunatic? Okay, I'm done ranting. I could make fun of Bonner for hours, but my jokes would just go over his flat head. Speaking of flat, let's move on with our first story, which comes from Otherworld. Flat Earther puts a plan together to prove that the Earth is flat. Okay, so those of you who have listened to Catching Z in the past know my firm stance on Flat Earthers. But I am always open-minded, and I love a good science experiment. In other words, I am 100% behind the idea of a flat earth advocate launching himself Wile E. Coyote style with a homemade rocket. The theory is sound. Mike would launch himself high enough into the sky to snap a picture from above, proving that the earth is flat. His ultimate goal is to prove the astronauts have fabricated the shape of the earth. Fortunately for him, and unfortunately for us, his plans would be blocked by the Bureau of Land Management. BLM called to inform Mr. Mike that he could not legally launch a rocket on public land, even though he claims that the federal government gave him verbal permission just a year ago. Are we to believe a man who believes himself that the earth is flat? Even in a post-apocalyptic world like this, the whole idea of flat earth is absurd. Still, I wanted him to at least be given the opportunity to prove his theory. I mean, who else has the courage to launch themselves with a rocket in the name of science? Only one other figure comes to mind, and that is Wile E. Coyote. The two figures actually have a lot in common. They both use science to give chase to the uncatchable, and they are both equal in their understanding of engineering. I was disappointed to discover that his rocket did not have the word Acme painted across its hull. After a bit of disappointment, I discovered that this flat earther had moved his launch onto private property. It's still happening. I never thought that 3 words could engage my excitement on this level. Yes, he will still be launching himself into what he calls the Atmos Flat. Oh God, yes, you're allowed to cringe. Mike has built a homemade rocket in the past, but crashed and sustained injuries that crippled him for a few weeks. This man became an avid voice for the Flat Earth community when he launched a fundraising campaign for his new rocket. He raised $350 of his $150,000 goal, providing me with hope that the human race and other world has not completely lost their minds. I will inform you, dear listeners, if this man ever does launch himself high into the friendly skies. We will continue with the news, but first, a message from none other than Governor Harry Dumas. Be a part of the only remaining news broadcast and help us die another day by supporting us on Patreon. You can become an honorary member of Derminus, gain access to an exclusive Catching Z newsletter, and a whole lot more. Visit patreon.com/Catching Z. The link is in the description. Welcome back, Termites. Our next segment is brought to you by the Energizer Bunny, who was recently arrested in Derminus and charged with battery. The Energizer Bunny asked you to please help him raise bail money before he is fed to the flesh bags. The chief commanding snowflake of Derminus has passed an unprecedented new law that bans several words and phrases from Derminus. General Bonner said in a statement, "In an effort to strengthen our community, we are banning the use of several words. Anyone who is caught using these words or phrases will face disciplinary measures." Make no mistake, General Bonner is as egotistical as they come. This ban is an attempt to feed his own ego while hiding behind a facade that he wants everyone to show strength. Among words that are now banned are entitled, diversity, evidence, science, vulnerable, scary, boo-boo head, and dangerous. General Bonner believes that these new rules will create a stronger, more sustainable community. By hardening our stance, we will be able to adequately deal with any threat that comes our way. This just in. A kidnapping occurred at a new StrangeTown school. After much deliberation, the kid woke up. Close call. I have received a heartbreaking letter from Emily Fredericks. If you are regular visitors of our website at catchingz.com, then you have probably already read this letter. For those of you who have not, allow me to share it with you now. Chance, I can't believe that you decided to betray all of us in Derminus to side with murderers and thieves. These same people you dare to side with are responsible for the death of my parents. My father actually liked you. How could you betray his memory? You represent everything that is wrong with our world. You are weak, cowardly, and vile. In other words, I hate you. Remember what happened to the last man who betrayed me? I bashed his brains in with a baseball bat. Rest assured that your fate will be much worse. There is no redemption for your actions. My heart is too shattered for forgiveness. Thankfully, General Bonner has granted my request to become a proud member of the Derminus militia. I am coming for you. We were once good friends. That's why your betrayal has been so painful. You side with the same murderers who killed my parents. For that, you deserve everything that happens. You ran like a coward right into the hands of the enemy, and now you shall be treated like the coward you are. StrangeTown and all of its people will soon be on the receiving end of my vengeance. Emily, proud member of the Derminus militia. My heart breaks, but this was a decision that I had to make. If you are listening to this broadcast, StrangeTown was not responsible for the attack that claimed the lives of your parents. General Bonner orchestrated that attack. But I'm sure he has brainwashed you into believing him above someone who welcomed you with open arms into Derminus. Whatever my fate may be, my hands are and will remain clean. But knowing that Emily hates me is probably the most difficult thing I have ever faced in my life. It's not enough that Bonner is declaring war on humanity itself, but now he is brainwashing innocent people. His tyranny needs to come to an end. I need a moment to gather myself. I'll be back after a brief message.
This is Chance Dangers, living dangerously, one day at a time. You too can live dangerously by getting your own official Catching Z t-shirt by visiting shop.spreadshirt.com/Catching Z. Okay, well, it's not quite living dangerously, but close enough.
Welcome back. Let's just move on with the news. We had a close call a couple of weeks ago. It all started with strange, echoing rumblings that woke me from a dead sleep. I sat up quickly, half expecting to see a mangled face staring down at me. Nope, it was just my tummy rumbling for food, since I had not eaten in 24 hours. I really should stop trading my rations of food for strange objects, but I do like to live dangerously. The close call was not the rumbling in my tummy, but the rumbling in the desert that I had yet to see. Unlike the Derminus militia, StrangeTown allowed me to accompany them in a joint effort to provide you with the truth. Transparency is a trait that Bonner and the Derminus militia should learn. Of course, these people are not soldiers. They are not trained. They are just survivors who are being forced out of their comfort zone. About a mile away from Derminus, a large horde of fleshbags staggered through the sands, the hot sun burning their already rotting skin. When I say large, I mean thousands of them. No way would the walls stand under such an impending threat. We had only one choice. We must divert them or face annihilation, because they were headed straight for StrangeTown. This is the point when StrangeTown had to make its first major decision. With two threats looming, they had an opportunity to solve all of their problems in a single act. It would not be too difficult to force the fleshbags to change directions. They just needed to be tempted with fresh meat, something that we're actually good at. So the question was, which direction should we tempt the horde into moving? On one hand, we could solve the threat that General Bonner posed once and for all by sending him this huge pack of carnivorous beasts as a welcoming committee to Derminus. But that would also lead to the death of over 100 innocent people who have done nothing wrong. It was considered, but Harry Dumas made a compelling argument to persuade StrangeTown into sending the horde away from Derminus. The horde has since been diverted away from both StrangeTown and Derminus. In other news, I am excited to announce that the individual formerly known as Man Pointing a Gun at My Head has defected. On Tuesday, he was brought through the gate leading into StrangeTown by some of our citizens, who happened to see him wandering near the luminous green fog. They identified him as a member of the Derminus militia, but he explained that he knew me, so they brought him in to verify that. This man, whose name I honestly still don't know, explained that he does not agree with the way General Bonner is running Derminus. With humanity on the brink of extinction, this is a time when we all need to be working together, not going to war. Of course, I was a bit skeptical, but he made a valid argument. Think about it. Did I ever actually shoot you? I guess he has a point, so I allowed him to return, but he now takes on a new role. He is now Man Pointing a Gun at the Door. Breaking news. In Otherworld, stormtroopers have been spotted trying to shoot Sean Bean. The Environmental Protection Agency contributes the month-long conflict with rises in global warming, saying that repetitive laser blaster fire is to blame. Disney was fined $1 million because they are responsible for the conduct of their stormtroopers. Sean Bean was later found dead, decapitated with 3 arrows violating his upper torso. Cause of death was later determined to be that his name is Sean Bean. The moral of the story is this: stormtroopers can't hit shit, but Sean Bean always dies. Hashtag crap from Facebook. Everyone's favorite segment has returned. I seem to have lost track over the last couple of months due to the antics of the Derminus militia and General Bonner. Rest assured that I am doing my best to transform this broadcast back to the fun source of news that it was originally designed to be. Our first hashtag is hashtag Dalek Remembrance Day. On December 21st, Otherworld celebrated a day known as Dalek Remembrance Day. Listeners from Otherworld will understand this reference, but let me explain it to those of you who are listening from this side of the luminous green fog. Daleks are alien machine thingies that are considered the greatest villains in the Doctor Who universe. Equipped with small eggs, a plunger, and an egg beater that happens to shoot X-ray lasers, Daleks wreak havoc across the galaxy. They are quite deadly creatures that made the word exterminate a pulp culture legend. Doctor Who is a television show about a time-traveling alien who saves worlds from all sorts of weird threats, from potato-looking folks to large human-like can openers that for some reason walk around yelling out delete to everybody. He travels around in a phone box that's famously bigger on the inside. I find it amazing just how many strange holidays this other world has. It seems that every day is a holiday of some sort. Heck, they even have a holiday where they celebrate not crying over spilt milk. You can't make this stuff up. In all fairness though, Doctor Who is a great show. Since gaining access to the phenomenon known as the internet from Otherworld, I have been able to enjoy many of its pulp culture creations. In another bold move by the Derminus dictator, General Bonner has ordered that all warning labels be removed. When I first got word of this cruel new law, I laughed. When asked why I was laughing, I explained that I knew what was going to happen next. Sure enough, I was not disappointed. Dear listeners, I have been saying repeatedly that the top leaders within the Derminus militia are morons. Now we would get to see that idiocy play itself out. We're going to remove all warning labels and let the problem sort itself out, General Bonner said in a statement. Well, at least his words were true, but intelligent people understand that those who make statements like that are the most likely to suffer the most consequences. Thomas Benson, one of the men who led scavenging missions to supply Derminus, was the first to fall victim to this new law. Chainsaws are dangerous machines, but I guess Thomas did not quite understand this fact when he lost all 4 fingers on one hand. You see, he was holding the blade as he started the machine. It spun and ground his fingers like chopped beef. The warning label had been removed. It warned, "Do not hold the wrong end of the chainsaw." Later that same day, Lacey, I don't actually know her last name, needed to use a torch to make repairs. She started out correctly, but then decided to take a break. She set the torch down and walked away without extinguishing the flame. Minutes later, the entire house was in flames. "I don't understand what happened," Lacey shouted as they all watched the house burn. "There wasn't any sort of a warning that a torch could catch a house on fire." Please note that the warning label, "Object may catch fire," had been removed. Poor Andy Yu wishes that the warning label had not been removed from a large tractor because while working, a large flesh bag got the best of him, pulling him from the machine and ripping him apart. His wife was seen complaining to the Derminus militia, shouting at them that the warning label would have saved his life. The warning label that they had removed read, "Avoid death." Dear listeners, General Bonner has since rescinded the new law as more reports kept coming in. It seems more than a dozen men and women from the Derminus militia were killed or maimed as a result of the removal of warning labels. To be perfectly blunt, I'm not even surprised. Otherworld seems to be deporting refugees at an astonishing rate now. I remember that refugees were a huge debate when I was in Otherworld. It seems that world is not open to outsiders. If you were not born there, then they couldn't care less whether or not they are sending you back to a world where you are being eaten alive. Fortunately, refugees are being allowed into StrangeTown. We are willing to accept everyone, regardless of ethical background, during these desperate times, a spokesperson from StrangeTown said during a statement that was overwhelmingly received. We must not allow ourselves to fall victim to the xenophobic views that have led the once open community of Derminus to fall under a tyrannical leader. Just don't mistake our compassion for weakness. If anything, it takes much more strength to not give in to fear than it does to seek isolation. I couldn't agree more. Well, Dermites, we are out of time. This is Chance Dangers, reminding you all to live dangerously. Live vicariously. Just live. This is a pre-recorded secret segment to let you know that this episode of Catching Z was brought to you by our unmatched desire for survival. If you're from Otherworld and stumbled upon this podcast, then please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps more people find us. You can also become an honorary member of Derminus by supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/catchingz, or buy one of our t-shirts from shop.spreadshirt.com/catchingz. Man pointing a gun at my head asked me to assure you that these shirts are all made by faithful volunteers. They are not, I repeat, not made at gunpoint. If you're actually from Derminus, then I'm so sorry for your rotten luck. Thanks again, and remember that new podcasts are uploaded on the 1st of every month, assuming we can survive that long. See you next time, hopefully.